Financial pitfalls exposed. 7. Traps the Jewish community avoids for lasting wealth. What if the secret to building lasting wealth isn't just about what you actively pursue, but more importantly, what you consciously avoid? While many chase the next big thing, the Jewish community has a long history of quietly building generational wealth by strategically sidestepping specific financial traps. It's a wisdom echoed by Warren Buffett's famous rule: don't lose money. Today, we're uncovering 7 of these wealth-killing pitfalls that silently sabotage most people's finances. Pay close attention, especially to trap number 5. It's deceptively harmful. Are hidden financial dangers derailing your wealth-building efforts? For decades, I've studied patterns of financial success and failure, and I've identified 7 critical traps that the Jewish community often learns to avoid. Traps that unfortunately drain the bank accounts of many intelligent, hardworking individuals. These aren't just theories. They're real-world pitfalls that can devastate your financial future. Understanding them, as we'll explore today, could be the key to securing your retirement and legacy. No complex strategies needed, just crucial awareness. Wealth Topmax warmly welcomes you. This channel is dedicated to sharing wealth-building mindsets for those seeking financial and time freedom. If you don't want to miss out on future valuable insights, consider subscribing for free and turning on the notification bell. What if true wealth building isn't primarily about what you actively chase, but rather about what you consciously learn to avoid? While most people tend to focus intensely on making more money, the Jewish community, over generations, has often quietly built substantial and lasting wealth by diligently sidestepping specific, identifiable financial traps. The legendary investor Warren Buffett echoes this profound wisdom with his famous rule number 1: don't lose money, understanding implicitly that the preservation of capital is at least as crucial as its accumulation. I've studied these financial patterns for decades, and today I'm revealing 7 wealth-killing traps that silently and insidiously drain most Americans' bank accounts. Please understand, these aren't merely theoretical concepts. They are practical, real-world pitfalls that I've watched devastate the retirement plans of intelligent, hard-working people who simply didn't see them coming. I urge you to pay special attention as we discuss trap number 5. It often appears harmless on the surface, but has the potential to undermine financial security in ways most financial advisors, unfortunately, never discuss until it's far too late. Whether you're currently building towards a comfortable retirement or focused on creating a lasting legacy for your children and future generations, truly understanding these traps could fundamentally transform your financial future. There are no complex strategies required here, just heightened awareness and a genuine willingness to challenge conventional, often flawed wisdom. Now let's uncover the first of these wealth-draining traps, one that is often hiding in plain sight, affecting countless individuals. The first major pitfall is lifestyle inflation, the silent wealth killer. Ever notice how life seems to create these perfect moments, these justifications for spending more money? You get that long-awaited promotion at work, and suddenly that new, more expensive car doesn't seem quite so out of reach. The kids finally move out, creating an empty nest, and that bigger, more luxurious house starts calling your name, whispering promises of comfort and status. It feels natural, perhaps even deserved after years of hard work. But here's the critical insight that nobody typically tells you: this pervasive pattern, commonly called lifestyle inflation or lifestyle creep, is one of the quietest and most effective wealth killers out there. The math behind it is brutally simple and undeniable. When your spending consistently rises at the same rate as your income, your personal wealth essentially stays flat, stagnant instead of growing and compounding over time. Consider Warren Buffett again. By many measures, one of America's richest men, He still lives in the same relatively modest house he bought way back in 1958 for $31,500. This isn't because he can't afford something far grander, but because he profoundly understands a core principle that many people unfortunately miss. True wealth isn't primarily about conspicuously showing it off. It's about diligently, patiently growing it. There's profound wisdom encapsulated in the Jewish saying, "Who is rich? He who is happy with what he has." This isn't just a nice, feel-good quote. It's a powerful wealth-building strategy cleverly disguised as philosophy. The families that successfully build generational wealth often practice what I call stealth wealth. They could undoubtedly afford much more, but they deliberately, consciously choose not to upgrade their entire lifestyle with every single income increase. So, what's the solution? It's to implement a personal lifestyle cap. Decide thoughtfully what level of material comfort truly makes you happy and content. Then, consciously cap your spending at that level, even as your income continues to grow over the years. If you find you're perfectly comfortable and happy living on $8,000 a month, strive to stay there even when your earnings climb to $12,000 or more. That crucial difference, that gap, goes straight into productive investments like a low-cost S&P 500 ETF, such as VOO, income-generating real estate, or your dedicated retirement accounts. This simple, disciplined strategy has created far more millionaires than lottery tickets ever will. What's most shocking is that even among households making over $100,000 annually, more than half report living paycheck to paycheck. It's a stark reminder it's not just income that creates wealth, it's the gap between income and spending. And that gap, fortunately, is entirely within your control, regardless of what you currently earn. But what if I told you there's an even more dangerous, more insidious trap lurking? Something that threatens even the most disciplined savers and has the potential to unravel decades of careful financial planning almost overnight. It's a critical vulnerability that most financial advisors, regrettably, won't mention until it's often too late. This brings us to our second trap: relying on a single income stream, effectively putting all your eggs in one basket. Think back to a time in your life, or perhaps even your current situation, where your entire financial well-being depended entirely on a single paycheck. Maybe it was your corporate job, your primary business, or your spouse's salary while you focused on raising the kids. And then imagine if that one paycheck suddenly stopped. For many, everything else would stop too. This heavy dependence on a single income source isn't just inherently risky. It's a trap that has unfortunately taken down countless financially responsible and hardworking people. The Jewish tradition has understood and emphasized this principle of diversification for centuries. The Talmud, an ancient text of Jewish law and wisdom, advises that a person should always divide their money into three parts: one part invested in land, representing tangible assets, one part in business, representing active enterprise, and one part kept in reserve, representing liquidity and preparedness. That's ancient diversification wisdom that predates modern portfolio theory by roughly 1,500 years. This wasn't necessarily because they were all financial geniuses in the modern sense, but because they understood a fundamental, timeless truth. Anything entirely dependent on one single source is inherently vulnerable to failure or disruption. I've personally met too many dedicated professionals who had impressive 30-year careers virtually erased by a single, unexpected layoff in their 50s. Not because they hadn't saved money, but because their entire financial identity and income strategy was inextricably tied to one company, one industry, or one specific source of income. When Lehman Brothers collapsed back in 2008, even long-term employees holding millions of dollars in company stock found themselves suddenly starting over financially. Their critical mistake wasn't a lack of assets per se. It was the dangerous concentration of those assets and their income. The solution here isn't necessarily quitting your stable job tomorrow to impulsively start 10 new businesses. Instead, it's about methodically building backup engines, creating additional income streams, even if they are small ones to begin with. Consider a rental property that generates an extra $1,000 per month. Or perhaps a consulting side gig that leverages your existing professional expertise, bringing in a few $100s here and there. Maybe it's $500 in monthly dividends from reliable dividend ETFs like VIM or SCHD. Even a small, passion-driven online business can make a difference. The actual size of these additional streams, especially initially, doesn't matter nearly as much as their separation and diversification from your primary income. Each distinct stream acts as a valuable protection, a buffer, against the potential failure or interruption of another. Here's what's often counterintuitive to many. That second or third income stream isn't primarily about getting rich quickly. It's more profoundly about buying peace of mind. It's about achieving the profound security of knowing that no single decision by a boss, no downturn in a specific company, no disruption in a particular industry can completely derail your financial future and your family's well-being. That second income stream is often your very first significant step toward achieving genuine financial independence. But even with multiple income streams diligently protecting you, there's another insidious trap that can still silently drain your wealth, year after year. It's completely legal, widely accepted in modern society, and might be happening to you right now without your full awareness. What's worse, most Americans unfortunately consider it normal. The third major pitfall is high-interest debt, the relentless wealth parasite. Let me ask you something. Have you ever made just the minimum payment on a credit card bill and then realized, with a sinking feeling, that the outstanding balance barely moved, or perhaps even increased due to new interest charges? That's not a coincidence. That's precisely how high-interest debt is designed to work. It's not just a financial product. It's a carefully constructed trap that quietly, persistently drains wealth from your future self, benefiting the lenders. In traditional Jewish financial ethics, charging excessive interest, often referred to as neshek, especially to someone in genuine need, was considered deeply unethical. It wasn't just a financial rule. It was a moral one. Because debt with no clear, manageable exit path isn't really credit. It's a form of financial captivity. And today's credit card companies routinely charge interest rates that would have been considered outrageous, even unconscionable, just a few decades ago. The math is truly staggering when you see it clearly laid out. A $10,000 credit card balance at a 24% annual interest rate costs you $2,400 each year, just to stand still, just to cover the interest, without making any progress on the principal. Over 5 years, you'll potentially pay $12,000 in interest alone, without reducing the original $10,000 principal by even a penny. That's $12,000 that could have been productively invested in an S&P 500 index fund, potentially growing, even doubling, over that same period, instead of simply disappearing into interest payments. The solution here isn't about guilt or shame. It's about implementing a clear-eyed strategic plan. First, prioritize paying down high-interest debt above nearly everything else. Consider using a 0% balance transfer credit card if you qualify, like the Chase Slate Edge or Citi Diamond Preferred, to temporarily pause the bleeding from high interest. Look into debt consolidation options, perhaps through a credit union where interest rates might be a more manageable 7% to 8%, instead of a crippling 24%. And most importantly, you absolutely must stop adding to the balance while you're actively trying to escape it. You've worked far too hard for far too long to let exorbitant interest payments hijack your financial future. Getting out of high-interest debt isn't just about removing a monthly bill. It's about reclaiming control of your financial storyline, your financial destiny. With today's persistently high interest rates, paying off credit card debt is essentially like earning a guaranteed 24% return on your investment, an outcome that's better than almost any stock market opportunity currently available. But even after successfully escaping the clutches of debt, there's another subtle trap patiently waiting. This one is often more emotional rather than purely mathematical. This next trap frequently makes smart, otherwise rational people spend more, save less, and inadvertently sabotage their own long-term financial goals without even realizing it. And unlike debt, you can't just pay it off and be done with it. We're talking about the fourth trap, impulse spending, the emotional money drain. There's a moment, a feeling that most of us know all too well. You'll casually browse Amazon after dinner, or perhaps aimlessly walking through the aisles of Target on a Tuesday night, and you end up buying something. Not because you genuinely need it, not because it was planned, but simply because it feels good in that fleeting moment. By the time the package arrives, that initial good feeling, that dopamine hit, has often vanished, but your bank account is demonstrably a little smaller. Again, this constant, often unconscious drip of impulse purchases isn't just a harmless habit. It's a significant financial trap with deep, often unexamined emotional hooks. In Jewish tradition, there's a powerful, culturally embedded remedy for this, built right into the weekly rhythm, called Shabbat, the Sabbath. For one entire day, from sunset Friday to sunset Saturday, everything traditionally pauses. No shopping, no spending, no financial transactions. Just rest, reflection, family connection, and spiritual rejuvenation. This practice, over time, creates something remarkable, the habit of not immediately reacting to every single urge, every whim, every marketing message. That's not just spiritual wisdom, it's potent financial muscle memory. The numbers from impulse spending add up much faster than we often realize. That $35 impulse buy here, that $60 unplanned purchase there. It seems minor in the moment. But $100 per week in unplanned, emotionally driven purchases quickly becomes over $5,000 in a single year. That's enough for a decent vacation, a substantial investment contribution, or a meaningful debt payment. All gone, often on things that don't add lasting value or true joy to your life. The solution here isn't necessarily extreme, joyless frugality or complicated, guilt-based budgeting. It's about creating your own modern, personalized version of Shabbat, a designated intentional pause before purchasing. Try this simple technique. Implement a strict 24-hour rule for any non-essential purchase over, say, $50. Put the item in your online cart or make a note of it, then deliberately wait one full day before actually buying. You'll likely be shocked at how many of those must-haves become forget-its, with just one day of emotional distance. For bigger, more significant purchases, perhaps over $300, extend that cooling-off period to a one-week rule. The wealthiest, most financially secure people I know aren't typically those who indiscriminately buy whatever they want, whenever they want. They are often people who've mastered the art of intentional, mindful spending. They're not necessarily depriving themselves of things. They're just ensuring their hard-earned money goes primarily toward what genuinely matters to them, what aligns with their deepest values and long-term goals. When your spending becomes deliberate and thoughtful, rather than impulsive and reactive, your financial power multiplies significantly. But what if I told you that even the most disciplined financial habits, the most careful spending plans, could be subtly undermined by something even more fundamental, something less tangible? The next trap isn't primarily about what you do with your money. It's more about who you do it with, or perhaps who you don't do it with. This is trap number 5, weak community ties, the solo finance trap. Let me ask you something quite real and personal. Have you ever felt like you're the only one carrying the entire financial weight in your world? Like every single financial decision, every bill, every unexpected emergency falls squarely and solely on your shoulders. That feeling of isolation isn't just emotionally exhausting, it's also financially dangerous. Because in times of both crisis and opportunity, having no supportive financial tribe, no trusted circle, is like going into a complex battle without any armor or allies. In Jewish culture, there's a deep-rooted, highly valued concept called kehillah, community. But it's not just community in name or theory, it's intensely practical and action-oriented. Families often help each other launch businesses. Knowledge, experience, and valuable connections are frequently shared resources within the community. Kids traditionally grow up seeing mentorship, cooperation, mutual support, and collective responsibility as normal, expected parts of life. This community-centric approach isn't just about emotional comfort or social belonging. It's a tangible economic advantage that has historically helped Jewish families thrive, often through centuries of adversity and displacement. I've met far too many successful professionals in their 50s and 60s who seem to have done everything right financially, saved diligently, invested wisely, but still feel perpetually vulnerable because they have no one or very few people they can confidently call for trusted advice, honest perspective, or practical help during critical financial crossroads or unexpected life events. That kind of isolation often leads to missed opportunities, costly unforced errors, and a pervasive unnecessary stress that no investment strategy alone can ever fully fix. The solution isn't necessarily joining an expensive country club or forcing awkward, superficial networking encounters. It's more about intentional, authentic reconnection and community building. Consider joining an investment group where real, open money discussions happen. Find or form a mastermind group of peers who are facing similar financial challenges and aspirations. Even simply connecting with one trusted person who's perhaps a decade ahead of you financially can provide invaluable perspective and wisdom that no YouTube video or book can ever fully replace. The strongest, most resilient financial strategies are rarely executed in complete isolation. They are typically refined, stress-tested, and enhanced through open conversation, constructive challenge, and shared wisdom. As the old proverb wisely goes, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. Your financial journey isn't meant to be a solo expedition. It's enriched and fortified by community. But even with a strong, supportive community around you, there's one more subtle, often overlooked trap that can still hold you back from reaching your full financial potential. It's often not about what you're doing wrong with your money. It's more about what you might be actively or passively avoiding entirely. This is trap number 6, avoiding financial education, leading to a critical knowledge gap. Let's be completely honest. At a certain age or after a certain point in life, the idea of learning something new about money, especially if it seems complex, can feel uncomfortable, even intimidating. Maybe you feel like you should already know these things. Maybe you're subconsciously afraid to look at your actual financial numbers, to confront the reality of your situation. Or perhaps you sometimes think, what's the point of learning this now? It's too late for me anyway. That persistent negative inner voice isn't speaking the truth. It is the trap itself, designed to keep you stuck. In Jewish tradition, learning, limud, isn't just an activity for the young. It's a sacred, lifelong mission, a continuous pursuit. There's a famous saying in the Talmud, Much have I learned from my teachers, more from my colleagues, but most of all from my students. The profound translation for our purposes: the moment you stop learning, you effectively stop growing, both financially and otherwise. Some of the wealthiest, most financially astute people I know are well into their 60s, 70s, and even beyond, and they are still voraciously reading financial books, taking relevant courses, attending seminars, and staying insatiably curious about the evolving world of money and investment. The primary reason many people don't invest effectively, fail to build meaningful passive income streams, or don't plan adequately for retirement isn't usually a lack of money. It's more often a fundamental lack of clarity, understanding, and confidence. And clarity only comes through dedicated, ongoing education. You don't need a PhD in finance. You simply need the basics, explained in clear language you can understand, at your own pace, relevant to your specific life stage and goals. The traditional financial world sometimes wants you to believe it's all far too complicated for you to truly understand without their expensive help. That perceived complexity often serves their interests, not yours. Start with just one specific financial topic that you've been consciously or unconsciously avoiding. Maybe it's finally understanding Roth IRA conversion strategies, especially if you're approaching or in retirement. Perhaps it's learning how bond ladders can work to provide stable retirement income, or it could be something as simple as finally understanding how to properly read and interpret your 401k or investment statements. Pick up a highly recommended, accessible book like The Psychology of Money by Morgan Housel. Watch a specific, reputable YouTube series on your chosen topic, or schedule a consultation with a fee-only fiduciary financial advisor, one who is obligated to teach and act in your best interest, rather than just sell you products. Every single piece of financial knowledge you gain is one less fear, one less uncertainty in your life. Every financial concept you truly understand is one less opportunity for someone else to potentially take advantage of your ignorance. The smartest financial minds I know aren't always the ones with the most complex, opaque strategies. They are often the ones who are still humbly asking questions, still learning, still curious, well into their 70s and beyond. And you know what that relentless pursuit of knowledge ultimately makes them? Free. But there's one final overarching trap that catches even the most financially educated and well-intentioned people. It often looks generous on the surface. It usually feels like the right thing to do. But it can quietly, devastatingly derail everything you've worked so hard to build, often with the very best of intentions. This is our seventh and final trap: ignoring legacy planning, which happens when good intentions go terribly wrong. Let's talk about something most people tend to avoid, not because it's inherently complicated, but because it often feels emotionally heavy, even morbid. What happens to your money, your home, your investments, your accumulated assets when you're no longer here? The stark reality is, if you don't have a clear, legally sound legacy plan in place, the government, through its probate courts and intestacy laws, will often decide for you. Your children might end up fighting over your assets. Your deeply held values might be disregarded or vanish entirely. And everything you worked a lifetime for might be significantly diminished or undone in a matter of months due to legal fees, taxes, and family disputes. In Jewish tradition, legacy, Yerusha, isn't just about a legal document. It's considered a profound duty, a sacred responsibility. There's a powerful concept called tzedakah, often translated simply as charity, but its deeper meaning is closer to righteousness or justice. It implies that your accumulated resources, your money, should continue doing good in the world, reflecting your values, even after you're gone. And equally important, your family should clearly know what truly mattered to you, not just what you owned, but what you believed in. What principles guided your life? The statistics on this are quite sobering. Over 60% of Americans currently don't have a will, and many who do have one created it years ago and have never updated it as their life circumstances, family situations, or financial positions have changed. This lack of planning or outdated planning means assets can get frozen in probate for extended periods. Families can become deeply and permanently divided, and instead of creating peace and security for your loved ones, your hard-earned money can inadvertently create immense problems and lasting bitterness. I've personally seen heartbreaking situations where siblings never spoke to each other again after fighting bitterly over a parent's estate. Not because the parent wanted or intended for there to be conflict, but simply because they avoided the crucial process of clear, thoughtful estate planning. You can start with these essential basics. Write a simple will. If your situation is more complex, consider a trust. Name a trusted executor or trustee to manage your affairs. Create a comprehensive document listing all your important accounts, passwords, key contacts, and the location of important documents. But please, go beyond just the technicalities, the legal documents. Share your wishes, your hopes, and your values with your loved ones. Who do you genuinely want to help? What causes or organizations truly matter to you? What important lessons about money, life, and values do you want to outlive you and be passed on to future generations? Companies like Trust and Will or LegalZoom now make the technical side of creating these essential documents surprisingly affordable and straightforward for many common situations. At this stage of life, your wealth isn't just yours alone anymore. It's an integral part of your family's story, your legacy. You've earned the right and indeed have the responsibility to decide how that story continues, how it is written after you're gone. The greatest gift you can leave isn't just money. It's leaving money imbued with meaning, with purpose, and with clear, loving intentions that truly reflect your life and your values. These 7 financial traps are quiet, they are common, and they are often insidious. But they are also completely avoidable when you learn to see them coming and take proactive steps. The Jewish community, through centuries of experience, didn't just build wealth through what they proactively did, but often, just as importantly, through what they wisely and consciously refused to do, the pitfalls they learned to avoid. And now you can borrow that timeless wisdom to build a life, a future, and a legacy that truly lasts. Conclusion. You are now equipped with insights into 7 significant financial traps, understanding of which has historically contributed to the financial resilience of communities like the Jewish community. The power to fortify your financial future lies not just in action, but in astute avoidance. The next step is yours. Consider which of these traps might be affecting your financial life, or could in the future, and decide on one specific action you can take this week to mitigate that risk. Building lasting wealth and security is a journey of conscious choices. Start making those choices today. Time's short, so I'll wrap up here. If you found value in this video, be sure to subscribe, hit the bell, and share it with someone who might benefit. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Drop a comment below sharing which insight hit home for you and what action you'll take this week. Your input means a lot as we navigate the path to lasting freedom together. These insights are shared to empower more people to reclaim control over both their time and finances. If even one idea helped shift your perspective, then this video did its job. Here's to freedom, in wealth, in time, and in life.